Alright, starting up an episode of Write Once, Read Many. This time I have no co-hosts. It is just me doing 6.7 and 6.8. Posting the link in the Discord. And there we go. Looks like 2 plus 4 times 5 is here already. And we've got Greg here. That's good, that's good. We've got some nice ominous music. You know, we should all set our chat to live chat because we've got spicy chatters. We don't want to miss their messages. And Vale says, don't forget the Discord notification. Probably turning off my Discord notification sounds, which I have done, so we're good on that front. And then let's see here. 2 plus 4 times 5 says, I'm not working today, so I can actually listen to the whole thing. Nice. Awesome. Cool. Oh, well, I am going to start the speed draw. Unlike last week's stream, which I forgot to catch up. Yeah, that's okay. You know, I was actually thinking about this because some people have, I think, fallen off, and I just want people to know, like, you don't have to listen to the intervening stuff if you just want to, like, catch later streams and stuff, you know. So, don't feel beholden to read the entire work of my stream to get the glory of a given moment of the stream. However enticing a pitch that is. Anyway, so as a reminder of the audience participation question, I've multiplied them. There's 3 questions now. There's, who is the MVP of the Arc fight? Should the Undersiders join their boss's organization now that they know who it is? And the bonus question, for people who actually don't know yet, speculate about what Coil's power is. Vale says, if I get that right, you're saying everyone has to listen to the entire stream and be ready for pop quizzes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the gist of what I was saying, is that if you don't memorize everything, you're really not reading the text right. And we can see Vic's art here. It's our dear friend Armsmaster using his grappling hook on the sign at the entryway to the parking garage. It's pretty cool. I think this speed draw is a little longer, like some of the older ones, whereas the one for the next chapter I know is like only a minute and a half. Came together rather quickly for whatever reason. Anyway, so moving on, the themes are kind of stuff we talked about last week, especially in 6.8, like the posturing and the power plays, the theatrics of being a cape, all the little moves and actions that they take to, like when Coil's being like kind of a shit with his power and he's like, you are all flipping heads on the coins. Isn't that cool? Aren't I mysterious? And yeah, he's a little mysterious, but I like how in shadow that Armsmaster is in this. He's really over there. Yeah, I think that's enough about themes. I'm gonna jump into the 6.7, and this one's Vic written, so you know the tone. If you're ever thinking this anecdote is strange, well, she has some strange anecdotes, and so do I. So I mean, I guess that would make sense. Vale says, I never understood this demonstration. It doesn't seem to fit his power. We can I understand how he... Do you understand at least mechanically, like, how he did it? I don't super want to discuss the, uh, minutia of his power, since, like, I do know that there are people who listen but don't participate in chat who haven't read the whole story, and I feel like I'm gonna save his power reveal for when it happens in the story. Okay, we'll just revisit it when it's revealed how it works, so I can just, like, without talking around the whole issue, explain it more clearly. 2 plus 4 times 5 says, if Coil wanted to flip a coin and have it land on the edge, would he be able to do it? Yeah, good speculation question for the newbies. I don't know. Maybe someday people will even comment on the YouTube videos with their answers to the questions. That'd be crazy. Oh, Vale says, can you make the discussion question for that chapter? Why is Vale wrong about the demonstration of Coil's power? Yes, that'll be the exact question. So, Taylor's getting her core workout as the dogs leap rooftop to rooftop, fleeing the scene. When they land in an alley downtown, Bitch calls out for help. Taylor reluctantly detaches from Gru. Oh my god. She's gotta keep that hug going. So they can help the unconscious Tattletale. Luckily, Taylor is always prepared and whips out a packet of smelling salts that she mentally noted after their skirmish with Uber and Leet. I bet half of us did, Regent replied. The weird thing is that you actually followed through, dork. What's weird about that? I asked, a bit defensively. Luckily, Taylor's dorkishness pays off, because the smelling salts successfully stir Tattletale to consciousness. Gru and Skitter slowly stand her up. And then it's pulled out here, TLDR, but spelled out TEEELDEEARR. Which, if you've only ever listened to the audiobook and you've never read it on the page, then you missed out on TLDR being said like that. Vic said, why did Wildbow write it out like this? And laughs about it. But I think it makes sense. I think that a lot of people see the traditional TLDR and don't know how to pronounce, don't know what it means. I think it's fine for Regent to say it like that. He'd be like that. Regent explains that even with Tattletale out of commission, the gang still got away, but Tattletale notices something amiss. Right as Armsman appears! Armsmaster isn't looking his best either. Skitter thinks to herself that after she left, the control she has on her bugs would be lost once she's out of range. Whoops! He even had blood trickling down his face at this point. Dauntless was at the other end of the alley, trapping them. And as always, we get a nice little excerpt here. I mean, I probably would have done the same thing. I can't help myself either. I'm just like Vic. It would have been easy to peg him. She always pulls out little clips like that and cuts off the endings. Dauntless is apparently able to imbue his gear with a little bit of power every day. Aragon style? I don't know, I've never read Aragon. And that some theorized he would eventually be stronger than Alexandria and some other guys we don't care about. I care about the other guys. Taylor claims that she's never gotten giddy about a particular hero, but that seems not true. I feel like she just has this new context that has made it a lot easier to see Capes as peers now. Also, the thing that she was going to peg him as was a tinker. A lot of people think Dauntless is a tinker, I guess. Craig says, good. 2 plus 4 times 5 says, Arms Master, more like Harms Master, because, you know, he got harmed by that. Never mind. Vale says, taking parts of the statement out of context is fun. It always is. The gear Dauntless is carrying currently includes his spear, shield, and boots, all crackling with cool-ass looking energy. Skitter antagonizes Armsmaster about how he got his halberd back. He demonstrates some kind of teleportation with it. Percy Jackson style? Unclear, I haven't read Percy Jackson. Armman commands the gang to surrender, which Tattletale says she's thinking about it. She mutters a complaint that they stopped in an alley instead of getting to the parking garage with their getaway car. I wanted to make sure there were no pursuers before we peeled out, Gru replied. Good thing, too. Right, Regent's voice was thick with sarcasm, because this is so much better than them finding us as we put the key in the ignition. And then Vic said, so true, Regent. Heart. There's a heart on the page. It's a less than 3. Tattletale hisses to the to get to the parking garage. Gru blanketed the alley in darkness. Seconds later, Skitter gets sexily shoved against the wall by Gru. Very sexily. Then the darkness subsided. Dauntless stood with a bubble force field around him that seemed to be eating through the darkness. He began advancing, and Gru had to back up to avoid the field, bringing him right into Armsmaster. Yeah, Dauntless's shield is, like, cool as fuck. Like, all of his powers are. Like, I'm a total Dauntless simp. I wanna have his power. Some people, they want your babies. I want your power. 2 plus 4 times 5. Dauntless, more like Daunt more. Tattletale starts heckling Dauntless. Armsmaster hates you. There's kind of a sick that's pulling some text out. There's an ellipsis here. He hates that you're the next big thing, the guy that's going to be better than him, that you get the easy road to being a big name in the Protectorate, and he's the one that has to stay up nights, reworking his stuff, compiling simulations, coming up with new ideas, training in the gym for hours and hours on end. Every second of work he puts in, he gets more and more resentful of you. Why do you think you were the one member of the team sent off to patrol the city and watch over the wards, instead of having you come to the party? All useless. Dauntless is wearing earbuds. I gotta say, honestly, I don't think that this means of, I don't think that she's got the right track here. I think if he didn't have the earbuds, based on, like, seeing him in flashback, in Ward. That's right, Ward spoilers. You see him in flashback, just like you see a lot of people in flashback. Then I think that Dauntless would not have really cared about this. He just didn't give a shit. That he knew Armsmaster hated him. He didn't care. But here we are. Oh, wait, there's a bunch of chat. Greg says, Shield is cool, but he should put more juice into it. If he can't tank a car, it's not going to stand up to much parahuman-wise. No, Vale, I'm in love with Dauntless's power, and I'm paying money to him. I'm clearly simping for his power. I do actually pay in every month to the Wildbow Patreon, and we can retroactively say that that's because I'm attempting to pay Dauntless's power. So, you know, there you go. Let's see here. And I know that Dauntless's power will never be in love with me or even talk to me, but I'm still paying his power. You know, just Vale says, I pay into Wildbow Patreon also, but not for Dauntless. Ew. As Dauntless continues advancing, Regent's hand brushes the energy field, which apparently hurts enough to make even Regent react. He knocks Dauntless down with his power, and Gru yells the gang into action. Gru leaps over Dauntless's spear and lands with both feet on his helmet. Yowza! They were free! The gang plus dogs skitter across the street to the parking garage. As they reach it, Brutus gets shot by Dauntless's spear, then Angelica. Luckily, the doggos were too tough. Unluckily, that meant Dauntless turned his attention to the humans. Before he can fire, Regent throws him off. Dauntless's power shattering the windows above that it hit. Oh, yeah. So he throws off Dauntless, and the arc lance explodes the windows and crap. Armsmaster spots the gang from the alley and is able to grappling hook himself over at top speed. Judas interrupts his sweet moves, snapping the bar that the grappling hook was grappled to. With the hook in Judas's mouth, Armsmaster shifts the grapple back into the typical halberd, injuring Judas and making him drop it. They're once again surrounded by Armsmaster and Dauntless. That's right, their group is surrounded by two people. I feel like they are, intimidating enough capes that it would feel like they've got you surrounded when there's only two. Armsmaster starts lecturing the teens. There's no more exits, no more tricks, no more! And suddenly Armsman is shapeshifted into a yellow concrete bollard? No, wait. Skitter turns to see Armsmaster is in the massive hands of a steel giant, slamming Armsmaster against the hood of a car. Hulk style? Yes, this is Hulk style. What the fuck is going on here? It's clear to us now that the parking garage is infested with travelers, as Ballistic steps out of the shadows. He's accompanied by a girl in a clown makeup and a jester cap, who Skitter recognizes as Circus. Sundancer intercepts a retreating Dauntless, and Skitter feels kind of lame that she has nothing to contribute because she's so confused. And this is where Victoria had said, okay, a lot of fighting really happens really fast here, so TLDR, Armsmaster is getting his ass kicked by the metal giant and an octopus hentai creature. Circus and Ballistic square up against Dauntless. Circus's power seems to be really hot and cool, basically jumping around, throwing things really good, and pulling things out of her ass. Taylor recalls that she's been offered a position as an undersider, which she refused, so why is she here with the Travelers? Circus sledgehammers Dauntless repeatedly, Homestuck style, to defeat him. The Machine, Tentacle Creature, and Trickster approach the Undersiders. The Machine, upon further inspection, was a white neckbeard known as Trainwreck, meaning the sea creature must be Genesis. Trainwreck dumps Armsmaster's unconscious body to the ground next to Dauntless, then crushes his halberd to bits. To be honest, I think that part was kind of fucked up. I agree. Like, Trainwreck is literally a tinker. He should get it. It's pretty fucked up. I'm with Vic on this for sure. In the silence, a smooth, villainous voice spoke out. I assumed, Tattletale, that when you asked me to meet with me at the conclusion of your task, that you wouldn't be bringing the heroes with you. Coil! I felt my pulse quicken. Coil's followed by two soldiers in his gross-ass costume, and they're all geared out. You know, they got the Kevlar and the guns with the laser beams, probably. And Tattletale apologized, even though he was clearly making a joke. Taylor thinks to herself, this is it. I've got what I need. Coil admits that he was just being the drama. And then we get to here, and it's, then we'll take our leave. Undersiders, Trickster, I have a ride prepared, and I would like you to join me. I believe we have much to discuss. Greg says, Armsmaster did just demonstrate that you can't take the halberd away. Hard to deprive him of his primary weapon without straight up breaking it. I agree, but, like, I guess it's good that the heroes have less power, but, like, you know, I don't know. I get where Vic's coming from, and I think that a Tinker smashing up another Tinker's weapon kind of fucked up. Let me see here. I want to see if there's any bits that I super want to pull out from the fight. Yeah, I don't know. I know what you're saying about how it can't take a car hit from the ballistic shot. I think if and let me read over this, but I think if a normal car hit his shield, he could sort of buff it back and jump with the hit and stuff, but this is just like being shot with ballistics power. Let me see though. Yeah. It says, when he uses power on the car, you didn't see it move. Rather, in the blink of an eye, it was gone from where it had been, abruptly in a position where it was virtually wrapped around the upper half of the force field. It started rolling off the other side of the force field, or before the force field gave way, then dropped to the ground a scant foot from Dauntless. So, I mean, like, I don't think that a car racing at him, at car speeds could break it. Yeah, it's like 2 + 4 × 5 is saying here. Being hit with a car is a little different from being hit with a car that's flying at hundreds of miles per hour. Yeah, there's a lot of parahuman powers that could probably just burst it. He's still building it. He's building it. Anyway, I might go back and pull out a few more excerpts from this fight. I was a little rushed on time this morning. Kind of didn't feel like I could write for a lot of the week. In a weird. I was gonna write last night and had a headache, and I just played video games instead. It's terrible. Anyway, I think final chapter thoughts. Great reveal of Coil. I like how everybody pops out. I like how this is basically the first time we get to see Dauntless. And even though he loses, I still feel like it's pretty clear that he's a badass. Because, like, it does take a lot of muscle to bring him down. And it's like a surprise move, too. You know, he didn't expect any of these other guys to be there, just the Undersiders. So, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like Dauntless. And then, yeah, like a great chase and so forth that make it make sense to me why they got away. Like, I always find the like getaways from pursuits to be believable in this book. I don't know. I think that's good. Anything else? I guess the arc fight is over, so that's another chapter thought. They were fighting from the time that they jumped off the building to now, so it's a 3-chapter fight, I think. It's not the longest in terms of chapters, but these are a lot longer chapters, so it is a lot longer fight than any of the previous ones, I think. Maybe the Onili and Lung fight is longer because I think it's more chapters, so they have more room to breathe, even if the chapters are shorter. Anyway, Doesn't matter that much. Moving on to 6.8. Coil has a van waiting to carry away each of the dogs. They must be, and this is where I wrote my main section of the script. They must be pretty big vans, even with only one dog apiece. Now that they're loaded up, Coil, Trickster, and the Undersiders get into an armored limousine. Skitter briefly worries that riding around in this very specific, uncommon vehicle will be too conspicuous, then hops in. Skitter gets in right after Gru and is focused on taking in all the details and remembering everything. After all, this is supposed to be her core mission, turning in the Undersiders boss to the Protectorate. Speed draw. Art change. The interior was all black leather, the windows tinted dark. Coil's black costume against the black background made him rather hard to make out as he settled into a chair at the far end, his back to the driver's seat. If I squinted a little, it looked like only the snake stenciled in his costume was there, hovering in empty space. So, we'll get to see this in a moment as it draws out. Trickster's at the far end near Coil. Bitch begins to ask about her dogs, and Coil says that they'll be with the vans that they use to arrive when they get dropped off to leave. Bitch doesn't ask further, but is clearly angry with the situation and Coil. After he settles that little matter, Coil decides to do a little trick to show he has powers. Like a lowly middle school beginner street magician, he pulls out a roll of quarters that he just happened to be carrying around and flips a bunch of coins. All the coins manage to land on heads as he throws one at each of his employees. Skitter does some natural investigation. It's not a tense environment as far as capes go. She pulls out a coin from her utility compartment, flips a silver dollar. Taylor is also clearly a beginner street magician. It comes up heads as well. Skitter asks Coil if his power is probability manipulation or enhanced luck, and he claims, "No, just the opposite, Skitter. I control destinies. I decide outcomes." You can tell this guy was the king of the theater kids at his high school. Very Louis from Beastars persona in the whole car ride. Vale says, prepared for anything, including tolls and parking meters, is the key to taking over the city. Yeah. I didn't think it had I don't think that his statements had the intended effect on Skitter, though. That still sounds like probability manipulation to me. But Tattletale vouches for him here. Tattletale leaned forward to look past Gru and face me. No, well, it is, but only in the biggest, bluntest sense. But I can vouch that he's telling the truth, vague as it is. What could it mean? What could it mean? What powers does Coil have? Tattletale holds all the secrets. And then, when I asked what his powers were at the meeting, you said you didn't know. I said I couldn't say, which is true. Tattletale explains that it's part of the arrangement for her to be a member of the Undersiders, that she not give out any details on his power, even to her teammates. After this is said, Coil steepled his fingers in front of his mouth in what I have to imagine is a total Gendo moment. He says in his own dramatic way that he hides his power from potential enemies, and he hired Tattletale with enough incentive to keep her loyal and silent on the matter. I feel like the language that Coil uses outs him as a big piece of shit really early to a lot of audience members, a lot of readers. It's the same vibes that Bitch gets from him. Gru isn't happy about being kept out of the loop on Coil's power and asks about it. Coil tells him that the Undersiders, as a team concept, was a gambit for him. If they died or went to jail, there would be less parahumans around the city to factor into his plans. He says that he still helped them with his power and tried to steer them toward success. Gru asks about if they succeeded as a team, which they did, and Coil says they find themselves here like the travelers, worthy to hear my proposal. Yeah. And then the chat, we got, Bill says, Dear Skitter, she didn't notice he called her that. Huh. He sounds pompous, speech-giving. Yeah. I mean, he sucks. He definitely would have sloppy steaks, and he definitely has slicked back hair. He didn't just used to be a real piece of shit. He is a real piece of shit. Gru brings up the fact that the Undersiders have worked for Coil for nearly a year, and the Travelers just arrived in Brockton Bay. Coil says that their track record speaks for itself, so he asked them to come to the city to work for him. Coil was hoping to hear Trickster's response to his offer to the Travelers tonight. All eyes are on Trickster. Instead of answering, he takes out a cigarette, starts smoking, rolls down the window to blow some smoke. If you're not bullshitting, if you're making a good faith attempt at providing a fix, we're in. Coil is very unfazed and says, Excellent. Then, fix? I ask Trickster. Vale says, every time, if Coil were to offer you the thing you really desire, what would it be? For me, it might be as simple as naps whenever I want. Every time I need a nap, I just call Coil. I mean, I'm not sure that's quite what he meant. I know you're kidding. Trickster said that Coil is going to give them a temporary fix for an ongoing problem that they're having, and that he's working on a permanent fix. Vague. Regent spoke. Trickster shrugged. Skitter wants to dig deeper and asks if this is why their group pulls a ridiculous number of jobs like you're trying to fill a bottomless pit with cash. Trickster plays it cool and makes it clear that Skitter is already knows more than she should and should drop it. She realizes she made a mistake by saying that. Gru says, You've provoked our curiosity, which I thought was a funny thing to say. Coil rolls down the window as they come out of a tunnel. There's the nighttime Brockton Bay cityscape and the moon hanging in the sky. Always the drama kid, Coil. He simply gestures at the city out the window. He says that ruling the world is unrealistic, but he thinks he can take over a city. Regent, as a gentleman, kindly points out to Coil, Isn't it kind of obvious you're trying to do that already? Coil replies that he's going to take over the criminal channels as well as the more traditional channels of power. Governments, courts, legal businesses, and major law enforcement groups in the city. Gru says this is ambitious, and Skitter thinks he might sound doubtful. Coil says it is, but he's already moving into his endgame. Endgame? I asked. Coil explains in more detail. The ABB were wiped out with the plan he proposed at Somers Rock. E88 is on the back foot because he's doing like a full court press in the city. He's making moves, making plays. The Undersiders and the Travelers will be joining him alongside other people he's hired, clearly some independents like Circus and Trainwreck. The hero teams have recent bad PR. He's got a major media power, so he's changing the public narrative about the ABB's defeat. He's going to use the timing of the restructuring of the hero teams as a time to become even more established. And the remaining major players in the city can't really do anything to stop him. There's New Wave, the hero team, but they are pretty low rep with the public, according to Coil, which doesn't feel like it jibes with the way they're presented most of the rest of the time, but whatever. The Merchants, who are basically the weakest faction, Fault Line's crew, they're mercenaries, so he can just pay them to be on his side. And then his dialogue box spills over to a third paragraph. He doesn't think there's anyone left to stop him, and he says that he doesn't just mean capes. He's bought out huge swaths of property on the sly, and he's bought 2 of the 3 mayoral candidates for the election that's in a month and a half. Oh, and by the way, the election is in late June, and I realized when I was looking at the dates on this that this car ride is on May 5th. So this whole Arc 6 has been Cinco de Mayo. Just weird coincidences. That it's the Cinco de Mayo arc. I wish Arc 5 was the Cinco de Mayo arc, if I'm going to be honest. Would have felt a little more appropriate. What are you going to do? Coyle says he's going to do a similar thing with the city council elections that are in September, and then he'll have taken over the mayor, or the major elected roles, and can start to work his way down. Well, I thought, there goes any doubt I had about the Protectorate not caring what was up with the Undersider's sponsor. Shit, was he really that close? Coyle says this leaves only their role. Gru makes him go on with a challenging tone. Coyle says that he needs to be able to keep the city. He wants to be able to have he wanted to be able to have a low-profile group like the Undersiders, who had the ability to weave themselves into portions of the North End, the docks, the boardwalk, and the train yard, as well as the outskirts of the city in the north. He put them in place strategically and made his moves against Empire 88 in ways that would keep them occupied and unable to root out the Undersiders as a new gang. They got time to practice being capes and working as a team, and then directly fighting the ABB as their only major opposition. They held out for about a year, and then once Skitter had joined the group, it was enough to tip the scales, and they all the events of the story. They defeated the ABB at this point. Coyle says if they accept his deal, they'll control the docks and the surrounding areas. They would essentially hold turf against other parahumans trying to be active in that section of the city, as well as fight any gangs that try to take territory. He says he plans to expand to other cities if they get established enough. And what do we get in all this? Regent asked. Coyle says that aside from tons of money, they can name their terms. No one speaks up, and they kind of look around at each other. While this is happening, Trickster finishes smoking and rolls up the window. Coyle loses at negotiation school and speaks up first. He tries to sell Bitch on the idea that he's going to help her with more help for the dogs. But he's so bad at talking to her that he leaves a terrible impression. The start of the offer seems like a threat to her, and she looks like she's going to flip out, and he has to fast talk to spit out that he'd hire assistants to help her with the animal work, and that they'd work under her. She's pissed because of how he goes about the pitch, and she doesn't even believe him anyway. I'd say you're fucking with me. He doesn't push it with her, and he moves on. To Regent, he brings up knowing his background and family history. When Regent asks how he knows about him, he says that he got the info from the Protectorate through his moles. That Armsmaster had been pursuing this since the arrest of Lung. Ah, Regent leaned back in his seat. Shit. Coyle says that he knows who Regent is and that he was trying to get out from under his father's thumb. Skitter tries to ask who his father is, and Coyle says he'll leave it to Regent to talk about that at the time of his choosing. Then he finishes the pitch saying that he might want status and notoriety to even surpass his father. Regent nods once but doesn't say anything. I think that this is a better pitch than the one to bitch, but not amazing anyway. Anyway, so Coyle seems to sense that he's getting off on exclusively wrong feet and says he doesn't use fear like Lung or manipulation like Kaiser. He just wants them all to be equipped and provided for, and nobody's going to give them a better offer. Which sounds nice, sure, I countered. Skitter brings up the fact that he had just told them that he was prepared for them to fail along the way. Coil's like, yeah. Then Skitter goes on to say that it would be the same if they screw up later. Coil directly rebuts this and says that he would have a lot more invested in them, and they would know more, so he wouldn't be able to let them get arrested. Skitter keeps trying to poke obvious holes in his offer, saying he could give false info. Look to Tattletale for the answer to that. I may have purchased her assistance, but I expect you consider her a friend, and vice versa. You could, I hope, trust her to verify that what I tell you is the truth, and to know more about my plan that I divulge in any case. Yeah. Skitter recognizes that he put her in a position where if she argues further, it would seem like she didn't trust Tattletale. Oh my god, his verbal judo's actually pretty good. Coil tells Skitter that he didn't come with an offer prepared for her, mentions that the thing for Gru is helping with his personal matter, essentially the whole Aisha guardianship issue. When Skitter gets asked what she wants, Tattletale leans forward to see what she has to say. This is, I think this is a treat for her. It says that she has clear interest on her face. Skitter thinks she has to be convincing, so she needs to steer close to the truth. Nobody fills the silence like she hopes they will, and she thinks about how she hates being put on the spot. Skitter's reply is that she wants him to fix the city. He says in his typical dipshit manner that he can't offer that in good conscience. But then, goes on to be like, but only because I was already going to do that. She kind of opens for him to say more, and he says, it's not because he's good, it's because he's prideful, and it would hurt his ego if the city didn't improve after he took it over. He says they might not agree on the minutiae of things, and she just wants things to get better. He says a whole bunch of stuff about how he's going to tame the city and whatever. She wants him to fix the ferry. He says he'll get it done. What do we got here? Vale says, if Coil were to offer you the thing you really desire, no, I already read that. Damn, that's the Naps comment. 2 + 4 × 5 had said, Coil to bitch. I can help you with dogs, Coil to Regent. I know your backstory, and so does the PRT, Coil to Gru. From now on, I won't plan on having you arrested. Also, I'll help with your sis. Coil to Skitter. Okay, what the hell do you want? Doesn't even give Tattletale the time of day. That last bit about Tattletale was from me, not 2 + 4 × 5. Let's see here. And 2 + 4 × 5 says his offers just keep getting worse. Yeah, kind of. I think the idea is that he would give them vague help with any given situation. Coil says that the pitch is over, and he wants them to think about it. This will be larger in scope than what they've dealt with before, and they can say no, and keep being street-level gang peoples, but without his funding, and without, any of his contacts or whatever. You've invested this much in us, and if we say no, we can just walk away, Regent asked him. Regent talks a lot more in these couple chapters than he usually does. I think he kind of does throughout this arc. This is one of his big moments. Coil is like, do you want me to not let you walk away? He talks about how he's never 100% sure to win a cape fight, basically, and thinks it's better to just cut them loose without threats if they want to leave. Coil knocks on the window and lets them out in the docks. He tells them to talk about this amongst themselves and states the obvious that Tattletale can now talk to the Undersiders about knowing that he's the boss. Coil also tells them that he's set up supervillain bank accounts for them with the Number Man. Very silly name. And as we find out, silly on purpose. The amount they made tonight would have been way too much physical money to actually like carry out of this encounter. So that's why they're getting these numberman bank accounts now. They'll get the account information as they pick up the dogs. Crew extended a hand. I'm not sure what we'll do, whether we'll take this deal, but it's good working. It's been good working with you thus far, and I hope to continue. Coyle gives him a firm handshake and says, "Likewise, Gru, Undersiders." Then they all split. The dogs left a bunch of saggy remains in the vans, but are mostly normal size now. They're all too distracted to talk as they head back to the loft. I have it. I've got what I need. I just didn't know how I felt about it. Oh, Taylor, she's so conflicted because her surface level motivations are obviously different from her non-surface level motivations. Um, but any final chapter thoughts? Uh, it's a good one. It's a good chapter. Um, yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of arcs, this might be the final chapter, like the denouement. But this one's like got a double denouement. They're like, we got a fight climax, then cape climax, then like a personal life, crazy decision moment. It's like they're just hitting you with all the things, chapter after chapter. Pretty good arc. I think this arc doesn't like spring to mind when I think about Worm, but it probably should. It's got like really good personal interactions between like Taylor and Brian in the first portion. Um, and like it's showing how Taylor's really become part of the Undersiders. And like the fight is such a spectacle fight, like all the way through from the jump down to like the foam plan to like seeing Dauntless for the first time and like all these other villains arriving. Then there's like the coil reveal. Yeah, this arc kind of has it all. It's pretty good. Um, and yeah, let me think. Do I have any other final chapter thoughts? I think the negotiations are good. It really lays out, um, like I said, kind of like just spelling it out that Coil's a piece of shit and nobody trusts him. Um, but like he is making tempting offers in various ways. Um, and he's kind of got his hooks into Tattletale and Gru, and really in a lot of ways Regent and Bitch as well. Um, but yeah, it's pretty good. We get some Trickster, uh, some hints at more going on there as we would assume. Um, but yeah, I think I'm gonna move on to the characters section. I think we get a lot from these characters because they're even after the fight's over, they're put in a very stressful situation of having to sort of decide what to do now that they know who the boss is and that they know that it's a much like larger thing that they've been a part of anyway. Um we get to see like Alec talk a lot. He um I feel like he speaks up more when things are more dire. And he pushes back more when there's like a lot of talky characters like Coil. Like anyone trying to like just um set the pace of a conversation, he'll really try and throw them off their rhythm and stuff. So he's even doing that here, I think. Um because Tattletale is of course like in terms of this discussion, um fully on the side of like Coil and them joining his group, and she's known this whole time, etc., etc. So he's pushing back, Gru's pushing back, uh, bitch is, she's pissed. She doesn't like this. She thinks that Coil is a huge asshole and manipulative. So she's pretty much got a perfect read on him. And then, uh, you've got Skitter trying to like find any way to get the group out of this. I think it's unspoken, but I think that she very much wants the Undersiders. She wants in this moment to be able to not turn in the Undersiders, but also turn in Coil. I think the reason she can't do something like that are because of like the events of the next chapter pushing her further into the sort of villain lifestyle. Uh, but yeah, I think that that's another like split path that you can sort of imagine is just if if Taylor had been able to somehow flip on Coil but not on the Undersiders. Although I don't think the heroes would have accepted that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, thinking about things that could have been, things that never will be. Um, let's think. Who else? We sort of get our first. It's not our first look at Trickster, but he's very dramatic in Somer's Rock in a way that like he's playing it for the whole crowd, and he acts pretty different. In this case, he's not very. He's like zero boisterous. He just like says a couple things and then keeps quiet. Um, let's see here. For powers, knowledge, and world building, we got to see tons of cool powers. We got to see Genesis fight again, and even a new form. We never see, not that you'd expect to, but you never see a repeat form from Genesis. It's always a different thing every battle, and if she's defeated, then much like in the explanation that was given about her being like a bionic Triceratops and then like coming back as a Lady Knight, like they're just even within a battle, she'll just create a new form that's more suited to the current scenario. Um, so that's cool. Genesis also rules. That's another power that would just be just amazing to have. But let me think. For powers, yeah, we see Trainwreck. We get to see that Taylor's like, I don't know what he is. He seems cyborgish and coal powered, but it's unclear to me. That might just be his body. We got Circus. Circus has like a big power set. We've heard about it a little before, but we finally get to see it in action. Circus has like minor pyrokinesis that's usually used as like flame breath, like pocket dimension stuff to hold equipment, which is usually used to do like hold a weapon like knives or a big sledgehammer, and can pull off like really quick uses of it, like pull the sledgehammer into a swing with a hit and then get rid of it on the backswing so that she can pull it out for another big swing after. It's you could do a lot of things with it. I can imagine the possibilities for like comboing people in a little melee. And never runs out of knives. You can't just knock the belt off or whatever. There will always be more knives. I don't think that it's like literally an infinite jar of knives. I just think that there's enough space in there that Circus is going to have a ridiculously huge pile of knives. And then like perfect balance and aim essentially with Circus. So the whole throwing knives thing or just throwing other things is very effective, and she can like just jump about and not fall over when doing a big maneuver like standing on one foot and double hand swinging a sledgehammer. So, pretty cool power set. I mean, Vic describes that power set as, we heard in the thing, as hot and cool. Yeah, she's really hot and cool. But we get on to, let me think, who else did we see? We saw the coil's power, which we've already talked about a bit, which we can speculate on in the comments section when anyone who hasn't read this book before somehow stumbles upon this companion stream in the future. His power, he says, to control destinies, and it is not probability manipulation. Trust me, dog. Greg says hammer space itself feels like a power, but then she's got extras on top. Yep. She's got hammer space on top of hammer space, and that's just one of her like four. Would you say she has like 4 minor powers? I think like pyrokinesis, hammer space, balance, and maybe the balance and aim is just one thinker power. Unclear. 2 + 4 × 5 says, I really like the sledgehammer swing plus hammer space combo where Circus can unsummon it so she doesn't have to swing it back. Yeah, I love that. It is totally sweet to think about. Like, the momentum canceling and stuff, and like the fact that she basically couldn't do that if she didn't also have the balance power is great. Circus has a great power package for like a street level cape. Like a thief, which is what she does. Let's see here. Dauntless's power. This is the first time we get to see it. We talk about it, and Taylor brings up the idea that Dauntless can theoretically grow without limit, and it is like people speculate that he's going to be more powerful than all of the major Protectorate capes in a few years. And that right now he's already like, he seems to be about Arms Master power level. And he's got a lot of answers to things because his shield actually like is really good and can just like bubble shield around him, and you can't really approach him. I'm not sure what they would have done without Ballistic. I think the dogs could have like jumped into it, and like lunging into it would have maybe broken it also if it had like multiple dog hits. It's not clear how easy that would have been for them to do though, because he was already like knocking them about with his arc lance. Just from the start of the fight, like he nails Judas and Angelica like it's nothing. He's also got like speed boots, so he can move around really fast. I guess we didn't super mention that in the outline, but he can run around. He fast. And his helmet gives him like minor thinker power, I think. Where he's got like better than average perception of the area around him. I guess I didn't really talk about a lot of their costumes. Dauntless has like a kind of like a Spartan looking thing going on, I think. It says a gladiator helmet. Not sure the exact style of gladiator helmet, but yeah, he's got like a shield on one hand, spear on the other, kind of look, and like light armor, I think, basically. Circus's costume is different every time, so what are you gonna do? I just realized none of the independent villains showed up to the Somers Rock meeting. Only teams. Because Circus, Trainwreck, they weren't there. Uber and Leet weren't there. There's a few others. Huh. It's probably because it's like super dangerous to like be in the vicinity of that many capes and no one has your back. Interesting. There's good world building in these chapters, I think. Like between the like discussion of the state of the city, Coyle's like specific worldview about how he like views crimes and drugs. I know I didn't super get into it, but I think it's interesting. Like, I don't think he's like right. I just think that it's cool, like to see the character perspective on that. Um. Oh. So 2 + 4 × 5 says, imagine if Uber and Leet live streamed the villain conference, then Bakuda could just watch it online. Greg says, that was my thought too. They idiots enough to try it. Oh, he corrected to their idiots. I thought you were saying they idiots on purpose, because I thought it was kind of funny. Because they are idiots. They is idiots. Let's see here. Let me think. I think it's really interesting how they sort of sum up what happened and like what his goal with the team has been over the last year, and how that's all divulged to us in like a relatively short amount of like page space. It's 3 paragraphs in a row, but it's like telling us so much all at once. We learn so much. And it all makes sense. It all just jives with what we already know of the like events of the story. It all just is like, oh, this was a lot more calculated than it might have seemed, depending on your read of the book up to this point. So that's cool. Well, if I have any more thoughts, I will include them in next week's thing. We're only going to be doing 1 chapter next week, just 6.9, and then we'll have a separate episode for 6.x and the arc roundup. So next week's going to be kind of a light week. But moving on to the audience participation, we've got the 2 major questions. Who is the MVP of the arc fight? And should the Undersiders join their boss's organization now that they know who it is? I'm going to read the Discord answers in a second, but if anybody has anything to put in the chat, feel free. And then if anyone is listening to this who, for some reason, does not know Coil's power, the thing would be to speculate about what Coil's power is. And, on any of these participation questions, if you're watching this stream just on the YouTube video later, like, feel free to leave a comment. I'll probably mention it in a later video if people want to keep any conversations going about any of these questions. I know some of them are kind of light, but I think some of the questions could merit further discussion. So, looking at the Discord, first we've got Vic's answer, posted just minutes after I had put the question into the chat. Alec is the MVP this fight. I'm not biased, in parentheses. Taking Miss Militia down and making her barf all over her scarf in front of everyone, waiting to the last second to take down Dauntless was a Sigma move. Oh my god. Yes, as we all know, Vic is in love with Alec and Amy. Actually, no, the order should be Amy, Alec, Kraus. So, only problematic faves all the way down. Coil seemed shady AF and seems like he won't fulfill his promises, but I think joining him for now and being on his side in the beginning of things is a good idea. If they end up having to take him down, they'll have the huge advantage of information. Yep. I agree with that. And then moving on from Vic's answers to Vale's answer. I'm not going to overthink this, repeat to self multiple times. I think the whole team contributing it was still a relatively low chance to succeed, which makes it tougher to think MVP. Gru is important for control and fog of war, Rachel brute force, tattletale planning, Skitter for fight tactics, Regent for individual chaos. All of them. I think of all of them, I think Gru is most critical. Without the darkness and sound suppression, I don't think they could even begin to engage in the fight. Yeah, I agree. It could be easy to argue that Bitch is the MVP because gets them in and out, but I know I keep just making Gru the MVP of so many fights, but at this point in the story, he really is. He allows them to take on. I'm like basically just agreeing with Vale. He allows them to take on threats that they couldn't because like they can engage 2 or 3 people at a time, or even just one person at a time, and like to fight. Like imagine going into that room and fighting all like 6 protectorate capes or however many. What it's assault battery, not dauntless, assault battery, arms master, miss militia, velocity. So it's 5 of them. Oh, and triumph. So it is 6 of them. So it's 6 of them, and then we got Gallant, who does nothing in this fight. Clock blocker, shadow stalker. So 3 wards, and then is Aegis there? I don't even remember. Maybe he's out with the others. And then you got a member of New Wave as well. So they're dealing with like 10 or 11 capes, and then like the 5 PRT guys. They would just get totally mobbed, like defeated in moments, I feel like, if they didn't have Gru on their side. I mean, Skitter is still really useful, and Regent shuts down one person at a time. But Gru's Gru. Greg says, I agree with Vale. Each of the Undersiders brings a lot to the table, but in this fight, Gru was essential to success. Without him, the Undersiders can't divide and conquer. The darkness split the heroes and disrupted their communication, ensured the PRT couldn't fire when civilians might be in the line, and kept several Protectorate members, like Battery and Assault, idle until they could assess the situation. If the Undersiders had faced a united PRT, Protectorate, Wards, and Glory Hole, it would have been ridiculously one-sided. 2 + 4 × 5 says, Coil was the MVP for accidentally having the rescue squad ready in the parking garage. I can kind of see that. They wouldn't have escaped without help, I don't think. I think that they would have been hosed at the end. And yes, it did end up being like repeating, Greg. I had said all that before I read your answer, in which you said the same stuff I said. But we all agreed. All right. Let me think. So, should the Undersiders join their boss's organization now that they know who it is? I kind of just agree with Vic on this one. Yes, but only with the idea that they're not joining permanently and that they're going to betray him. Because as evidenced by the Coil MVP post in which Greg reacted with a snake emoji, I second the snake. And I mean, he even puts a snake on his damn costume. But we all know 2 + 4 × 5 just has a bias for characters that have great fan art of them, such as Coil. Anyway, I have an open prompt to discuss the thoughts after reading chapter 6.9 on the current state of the Danny-Taylor parental relationship. Anything from how they got to where they are now to how they could grow close again. The sky's the limit on this question, so, let your imaginations fly and just talk about the interpersonal. Alright, I'm going to read off the links, then start my outro music in a sec. Where did those go? Right here. So, the intro and outro music I'm using for this arc is On the Move in the documentary music playlist by CO.AG Music. All of their main music is on YouTube for free and can be used as long as you give them a shout out. I really do. I'd give them a shout out anyway. I think they're great. Anyone who does copyright free stuff, I really think free media is super important. Wildbow's works themselves, the audiobook for this stream, a lot of podcasts. It's all free media, and it's like a different vibe when they're not making it with profit motive in mind. They're just writing or talking about stuff in a context that's not trying to make money. I think it's a very different thing. Not to say that like all media that's that you gotta pay for is bad or whatever. I believe in free media as an important concept that we don't have enough of in our society. And if we dig down deep into it, I'm not into the whole capitalism thing in the first place. So I just like all the artists to be able to do their thing without the thumb of a corporation on them. Our Discord server link can be found in the description or in the channel description. The author of the work being discussed can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. You can pay him for any given character. You can think to yourself, I'm not paying Wildbow. I'm just paying Dauntless. Maybe Dauntless will notice me if I keep sending $20 a month. Dauntless hasn't noticed me yet, but I'm gonna keep trying. The full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com. There's also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.rain-online.org. And okay, I'm gonna start that old outro music, and yeah, I think this was a good episode. I'm trying to get back into the swing of having guests on every week, but I did not do a good job of scheduling it out beforehand. So, we'll work on that. Goodbye, everybody. Had a fun time. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.